way down first, the rational column, and then the irrational. Does someone want to read my message for me? It should have been what? Go, Erin.
Oh, wait. Made Mary on... Huh?
Made Marian
Oh, Marianne married a hood.
a hood. So Robin Hood, that's his hat down there. Maid Marian is always like, that's who he's trying to save and whatnot, right? So you had to go all the way down the column, right? All the way down here, and then you came all the way down here. This one, this is really good vocab review. If you struggled with this page, my hint would be go back over your notes from yesterday and kind of look at that, but make sure that that is making sense to you. In that, when we looked at that circle, so yesterday we had, this was our real numbers, was all of this, and within the real we had a category that said this was my rational, and this was my irrational, right? And under the irrational, there's nothing else. Those are just my decimals that cannot be written as a repeating or terminating decimal. But under here, the rational, you still have integers, and you still have whole numbers. So when you're reading through all of this, that's kind of what that was looking at, was those notes from yesterday, okay? So, did anyone get, what was the crow doing on the telephone wire? Someone else want to read it for me? Here you got, go.
Making a long distance call.
Call, I know. And you guys probably don't know much about long distance because your cell phones don't really need long distance plans, but if you have a landline, you used to have to call long distance if you were like out of that regional, you know, as you looked at it. So that's, you didn't have to worry about that. All right, so let's keep going and look at these questions. Okay, so as you are looking at these, number one, we kind of did that one in class, right? Got 173 over, okay. So now we're looking at number two. Does someone want to tell us what they had? Wally, did you get number two? Go grab it. So number two, if I was looking at number two, that 4.37 repeat. If I was looking at your answer that you were going to write behind it, Stephen, what you got?
Number two, I got 433.
Over 99. Okay. I agree. Could you have changed it to a mixed number and had 4 and something? You could have, but you don't have to. You did it just like that. Perfect. Okay. Since there's not a question on 4, let's look at 4. What do we have for an answer on 4? Anyone ready to tell us their answer on 4? You got it?
8,364 over 9,990.
Okay. Those were kind of ugly. They were not as quick as the ones before. Yes. Question.
What would it be? 433.
What did you have?
437.
My guess is you didn't line up your decimals when you subtracted them.
Oh.
My guess is that when I looked at yours, right, you had 100x equal 437.3737.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you subtract 1x, what is that? What was 1x equal to?
Oh.
Okay, now do you see it? And they all work where they cancel. Okay? So, number 3. If I'm thinking of my original x, it is 5.421. And then, if I'm going to continue with that, Gunner, what else do I put behind that 21? What's repeating? 421, 4, 2, 1, right? So I have to make sure that I show that 4, 2, 1 is repeating, okay? So next, Sophia, what did you multiply by?
I didn't really have one.
How many numbers repeat?
3.
3. So if 3 numbers repeat, I need to multiply by what? 1,000. So we're going to take this times 1,000. That gives me 1,000x equals. Now, I had someone doing some kind of wild stuff when they were getting help on this. They multiplied this by 1,000. Kind, what'd you get when you multiplied that by 1,000?
That was the one I've had trouble on. So
Okay, so multiplying by 1,000 does what to my decimal point? Moves it how many places?
3.
3. So tell me, what am I putting 1,000 equal to?
1,000 is equal to 542.
5,000. You had this number, right? You still have the 5 here, right?
Yeah.
5,000.
421.
21. Point what?
421.
Okay, 421, 421. All right. Kyle, what am I subtracting from 1,000? And this is where people have been making mistakes. I've had some people go, oh, look, I'm just going to cross off this 142. Okay, you can't just do that. You have to do the subtraction. So you actually have to rewrite this one down below, and you actually have to subtract minus 1x. And Kyle, what was 1x equal to? And this is where lining up that decimal point is crucial, that you line up that decimal point. And 5.421421. And now, look how nice it works. So Jaden, we're going to continue. Okay, so you're writing it down correctly, right? Oh, you should do it with us at the same time. That makes sense. Okay, so start writing. But now you're going to start subtracting for me since you're not writing. But right now you're subtracting. So back here, we're doing these subtractions. Looking up here. I'll leave this up afterwards. Tell me what I'm getting when I subtract. I can't take 1 minus 5, right? So I have to think of it as 21, right? 21 minus 5 gives us 16. So 21 minus 5 is 16. And then I'm still putting the 4, right? Because there's a 0 here, right? So this is just like zeros out here. And the 5 minus that one, so 5,416 equals 999x. And we are almost done with this one, right? All I have to do is divide by the 999 on both sides. I will put this back up afterwards for those of you that didn't have it. But if you have this done, this is the page that I want turned in today. Okay? Before you leave here today, this page has to be turned in. Okay? If you want to have your first and last name on that, and you want to have period 4. Okay? So I want you to look at these 3 problems. These are in your notes. It's a little more practice. All right, so what you're going to do is this. Turn to this page in your notes. We are probably, before you go to lunch, going to get, at least everyone should have the 2 number lines below each of these. So for each problem, please draw right now your 2 number lines. When we come back from lunch, you will have done one problem, and then you will explain to someone the process of what you did. And then they will, and then you'll help each other, and you'll correct and say, nope, you can't do that, or she said this, and you're going to help each other so that they get this right, okay? So, next, make sure these 2 are the same, right? Because these are going to be my 2 numbers that it's in between my perfect squares, okay? So up on the top are the square root numbers. Okay? And on the bottom are the square roots of those, right? So on the top, and this one's tricky, so we're going to leave that second one because it's negative. Okay, we're going to kind of do that one. I'll talk about that one together probably before you get to lunch. And then the last one too, you have the square roots on top. Okay? This one, negative 98. When you look at a number line, right? So down here, if I look at a number line, here's 0. Here's negative 20, right? Here's negative 90. Here's negative 100, right? So you just think about that number line. That makes sense to everyone? The positives are over on this side. So when it's positive, it's a lot easier because, like, if it would have said positive 98, we're like, oh, it's between 90 and 100. But this one has to be closer to 0, right? So what two perfect squares is 98 between? So think about my two perfect squares that 98 is between. I know one of them has to be what, as I am looking at that, Logan? 9. That is 81, right?
Yep.
Do I want to put negative 81 here or here? It's between negative 9, right, and negative 10, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So everyone do that one. Put the negative 9 and the negative 10. And then up above, I agree, this is negative 81 and negative 100. Does that make sense? How it's just the opposite of what we've been doing? Yeah. And your homework today, it has both positive and negative square roots that you're estimating, okay? So we know this is going to be negative 9.9. We're going to go put numbers both positive and negative. So if I was going to put square root of negative 98, I know that at this point it's probably really close to negative 10. It would be approximately what, maybe? Approximately, all right, negative 9.9 probably, right? If I found the halfway point between negative 9 and negative 10, that'd be that negative 9.5. That's what we talked about doing before. That's going to be the square root of taking 181 and dividing it by 2. Adding 100 plus 81 is 181. 181 divided by 2 is 90.5, right? It's almost 90. So it makes sense that you told me an answer of negative 9.9, right? Because I can see 9.5 is in the middle, that's 90, and negative 98 would be right up here, okay? The mistake that some people did is they didn't tell me the answer. Like, they have all this work, which is great, and they didn't do the answer. So you are going to do the square root of 28 and the square root of 72. Then what you will do is you will get with a partner, okay, and you will explain what you did. You will walk them through doing something like this. Well, the first thing I did was I found square root of 98 was in between the square root of 81 and square root of negative 100. That was 10 and negative 9. Next, I found the halfway point. And after I found the halfway point, I knew 98 was way closer to 100 than it was to 81. So I approximated it to be negative 9.5, negative 9.9. You're going to do the same thing with the 28 and the 72.5. So first I want you to do one of them on your own and be ready to explain. And then we're going to do the other one, okay? So I'm just going to have you, this is part of what we're doing in class, or they explained it really well. Someone want to nominate their partner for explaining? Someone's partner explained it really well.
Oh, my partner did.
You did? Okay. And then she might have you explain another one, but we'll go. Erin, are you ready?
Yeah.
This first one, square root of 28.
The two square roots that are in between it, the perfect ones, are 25 and 36. And find the middle of that at 25 plus 36 divided by 2, which is 30.5. And then the square root that are the perfect numbers are 5 and 6, and in between that is 5.5. Just approximated about halfway in between there. It was 28, and then 5.45 was the approximate answer.
And if they say to the nearest 10, I don't want 5.35. Would I take 5.3? Yes. Would I take 5.4? Yes. Okay? Very good explanation. All right. So, Erin, you want to nominate your partner to do the other one, or do we want to call someone else?
She did the second one. I did the first one.
Oh, well, now it's your turn to repeat what she said. All right, go.
Okay.
All right. And then, will you do me a favor and shut the door so we don't have that noise here? Okay. There you go. 72.5. What'd you do?
Well, I took the square root of 64 and 81. And it's 8 and 9. And then I did 64 plus 81 divided by 2, and I got 72.5. So I put 8.5, and then that's what I approximated.
That one's even better, right? I mean, you came out when you added 64 plus 81, and you did take that total and divided it by 2. That came out to be 72.5. So it was, it was exactly at 8.5. We don't even have to worry about trying to guess if it's between these two, right? That was even better, okay? So, on the test tomorrow, on the quiz tomorrow, you have to do at least, I think there's 2 or 3 of them. I think there's 2, okay? So, repeating decimals. There's going to be 2 or 3 of those. Now, some of you, when it's one number that repeats, you might know this one, but let's just practice it anyway. Let's put 1x equals. 1x is equal to 0.555 repeating, right? Whereas over here, 1x is equal to 0.22626?
No,
6.
Yeah.
So, both of them we are multiplying by what number? 10. Because one number repeats. So 10x is equal to 5. And 10x over here is equal to 10. You are always subtracting that first initial part. But you have to put this down below it. You have to subtract it from it. So it's minus 1x, which was equal to 0. And this was one that some of you noticed that pattern, right? 9x equals 5. And it is 5 over 9. Now, I would take 0.5 repeating without the work, right? I take 0.7 repeating without the work, because I know that's 7/10. I know 0.8 repeating is going to be 8/9, right? So I can do those without the work, because I noticed that pattern. But this one doesn't come out as nice, and so when we are subtracting, do me a favor and put all your stuff down below so I don't trip. 1x is equal to, and we are looking at 0.266. And I do the subtraction. And as I do that subtraction, Haley, what'd you get when you subtract? 2.4. Okay, so I get 2.4, and that is equal to 9x. So, Wally, my next step, I'm almost there with solving, right? I didn't show it here, but we divided both sides by 9 to get that answer. What do we have to do next? First, before we multiply, divide by 9, right? And now that I have it divided by 9, when I'm looking at that, Alex, now what do I want to do to get my final answer? Because I want to move it over one place, so I multiply by 10. And I get 24 over 90. Now, if you had 24 over 90, you guys notice it's even. Can we divide them both by 2 pretty easily?
Yeah.
Half of 90, that's 45. And half of 24 is 12. This would be a better answer, but I will take this answer. Can we divide 12 and 45 still?
Yeah.
3 goes into them, right? So if I divide by 3, I'd end up with 4 over 15. This is a better answer, But on the quiz tomorrow, you stop at 24.90, so you got full credit. Okay? All right. So, your homework, if you look, is this page. And so when I look at this page, so yes, you will get the joke, I hope. And here is what you are doing. So you got to be careful. Some of them are negative, right? So I have a negative here. These are negatives. So when I do those negatives, just like in our notes when we did that, you got to be careful for where those negatives are. And I'm not highlighting all the negatives, but square root 19. What I want you to write, just right by the problem, is what two perfect squares it's between. So you're going to put, right in front of this letter I, you're going to put square root what? 16 and square root 25. Which means it's between what two numbers? 4 and 5, right? So if I'm going to approximate it, this is going to be between 4 and 5. So now over here between 4 and 5, I'm going to put the letter I. Right? Because that's where this first one, 19, was between the square root of 14, or the square root of 16, which is 4, and square root of 25, which is 5. If you need to write both those down, put both of them. So when I go to this next one, oh, this is negative 15. On this side is the bigger one, right? This is negative 16 on this side, and this is negative 9 on this side, right? Does that make sense? It's between negative what? 4 and negative 3. Negative 4 and negative 3. I put the letter R. Okay? That makes sense?
Yep.
Let's do one more. Negative 74. What do you have to write on your paper? You just have to write the two square roots it's between. So square root 74 is between negative what? 81 is below, negative 81, and then negative square root 64. Okay? That's all you have to write on your paper so that you know it's between negative 9 and negative 8. Oh, that's going to be the letter E. Does that make sense? So, this page, the other thing I would really strongly recommend is as you are looking at your homework is to go back to this vocabulary that was from today and making sure you can answer all these, like go through again and see if you could say, oh, it's rational or irrational, it's this or this. That you can identify those different types of numbers. The quiz is not hard. You will have the whole period. If you practice your squares and cubes, you have to do 1 to 20, 1 squared through 20 squared, and you have to do 1 cubed through 10 cubed. Okay? If you need to repractice more of those, if you finish the homework, that's what I would recommend. When I said that tomorrow, when you come into class, you need your headphones, I also attached on the daily planner. So on the daily planner, I put a couple of tutorials. How to approximate the square roots and how to change our repeating decimal. So if you're still struggling with these two things that we just did today, watch those, okay? Tomorrow, the reason when you finish your quiz, there's a video on how to find volume and woo! Woo!
Bless you.
Thank you.
Of triangular prisms and of your rectangular prisms. That's what that homework is, okay?
Sneezes.
All right. So the rest of the time in class,